welcome to The Explainer. So today we are digging into India's brand new seismic map. And let me tell you, this is way more than just some new lines on a page. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about earthquake risk for over 1 billion people.
Okay, let's just jump right into the biggest change. At the heart of this whole thing is a completely redrawn map of the country's seismic zones, coming from the Bureau of Indian Standards.
Right. So the old map had 4 seismic zones, number 2 through 5. The new map, it doesn't just tweak things, it adds a whole new, much more dangerous category, Zone 6. And get this, the entire Himalayan belt, which used to be split between different risk levels, is now all under this one single highest risk classification. That change alone pushes the amount of land under serious risk from 59% up to 61%.
But here's the number that really hits home. This isn't just about land area, it's about people. A whopping 75%, 3/4 of India's entire population now officially lives in an area where a major earthquake is a recognized threat. That makes understanding why this is all happening more important than ever.
So why the huge update? I mean, why now? Well, the answer is buried deep in the ground, in these massive, unstoppable geological forces that have been shaping India for millions of years.
It really all starts with this. You've got the Indian plate constantly, and I mean relentlessly, pushing into the Eurasian plate. We're talking at a speed of about 5 centimeters every single year. It might not sound like much, but that constant, powerful collision is literally what built the Himalayas. And believe me, that process is nowhere near finished. That collision has created these huge, unstable fault lines. You can think of them as thrusts, where enormous slabs of rock are grinding and pushing over each other. All of this is happening right under one of the planet's youngest and most geologically active mountain ranges. So all this stress just builds and builds and builds, and when it finally lets go, the ground shakes like you wouldn't believe. And as we're about to see, this is a pattern written in history. And wow, does history show us the precedent? Just look at this. In a span of just over 50 years, the region was rocked by 4 absolutely catastrophic earthquakes, every single one of them magnitude 8.0 or higher. The story of tectonics is written right there, in these devastating historical events.
So, with that kind of devastating history in mind, how does the new map get smarter about handling risk today? It's about more than just updating the geology, it's about changing the whole definition of what risk even means.
You see, the old way of thinking was pretty much just about how much the ground might shake. But this new map introduces a brilliant idea called the exposure window. This completely shifts the focus to the real-world human and economic damage by considering where people actually live, where our most critical infrastructure is located, and how our cities are growing. It's not just where it will shake, but who and what will be affected.
Now this is where it gets really interesting, especially for building codes. For years, making a building earthquake-proof was all about its skeleton, the beams, the columns, the stuff that keeps it from collapsing entirely. But the new code says, hey, that's not enough. We also have to protect the building's organs, the windows, the elevators, the water pipes. Because think about it, a building that's still standing but has no power, no water, and shattered windows isn't much of a shelter when you need it the most.
And we learned this lesson in the most tragic way possible. During the 2001 Bhuj earthquake, over 12,000 lives were lost, and a huge reason the disaster was so bad was the failure of critical buildings. When a hospital collapses during an earthquake, the catastrophe just gets amplified. This is exactly why protecting a building's internal systems is literally a matter of life and death. So, what does all this new understanding actually mean for construction on the ground? Well, this map is not just some paper for a university library. It comes with a very strict set of instructions for how we have to build for the big one.
For all the states that are now in that highest risk Zone 6, this map is a direct command for action. They absolutely must revise their building codes, they have to audit their existing structures, they need to retrofit the buildings that are vulnerable, and they have to completely rethink how they plan their cities for the long haul.
And here's another simple but kind of brilliant change in the code. Before, if a town was sitting right on the line between 2 zones, it could get confusing. Not anymore. Now the rule is simple. You're automatically in the higher risk zone. No questions asked. It just cuts through all the ambiguity and forces a powerful, safety-first approach right where it is needed most.
When you step back and look at the whole picture, these changes add up to way more than just geology or construction codes. This is about creating a blueprint for a more resilient society, not just for India, but on a global scale. By adopting these much higher standards, India is putting its national safety goals right in line with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. It's a powerful statement that building safer infrastructure and safer cities is absolutely fundamental to creating a sustainable future for everyone.
And really, that brings us to the single most important takeaway from this entire update. Earthquakes are one of the very few natural disasters that we simply cannot predict. It's not a matter of if, but when. So, if prediction is off the table, then our entire focus, everything we do, has to be on preparation. This new map gives governments, planners, and engineers the knowledge they need to build a safer country. But becoming truly resilient is also a personal thing. It's a community effort. So the real question this map leaves for every single one of us is, now that we know the risk, what's our plan?